What's up, everybody? Welcome to Untamed and Unhinged Reptile Podcast. This is my co-host, John from Arc Adventures. Y'all know him. And he's wearing the new merch. Show everybody that merch, bro. Show.
I know
Yeah.
is
And then shout out to sponsors. We're gonna make a quick shout out because I've been forgetting to shout out all the sponsors. We got Reptile Crew, CMB Reptiles, SB Reptiles, Ship Your Reptiles, so many Blue Tongue Reptiles, Blue Tongue Republic. Sorry, Don Romo's Mexican Restaurant, Stitch and Clothing, San Antonio Protective Security Services, Texas Bound Gorillas, DNT Retex, and KC Reptile Lab. We just got so many sponsors. I appreciate all you guys. Love all you guys. Um, and let's get the show on the road. We don't have any updates. We kind of ran short on time, guys. Sorry about that. We didn't get to bring up the updates for US ARC. But on that, do you have anything else, John? Anything else to add?
nah. Just make sure you follow, subscribe, and like the video.
Like this. Look, you know why? Because I'm going to do this. I'm joking. All right, let's
No,
go.
no, do it.
Let's bring her on. So we have for you guys today Jessica from House of the Spood.
Hi guys, nice to meet you.
Well, how's it going, Jess?
It's going good. Just got home like 30 minutes ago from the reptile shop. I work once a week for Brian Potter, owner of NARBC in Chicago Reptile House. So literally just got home in time to make sure I had time for you guys for this podcast today. So thanks for having me on. I'm owner of Haus with Spood. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook and TikTok. And I'm Chicago based.
And you own a reptile shop?
No. So I work for Brian Potter. He owns the reptile shop. It's called Chicago Reptile House. And it's here in like Chicagoland area. And I work there once a week and I help out with their spiders, like as far as making enclosures, any husbandry for them, misting, feeding, placing new orders for spiders. So I take care of the spiders at the shop.
And okay, so you only work with jumping spiders or you work with tarantulas?
With tarantulas as well. So my actual business is based on just jumping spiders, which is what I breed. But I work once a week at the reptile shop.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, Chris is going to hold a bird eater pretty soon.
Never.
It's not bad.
Be glad I hold the little tarantula. That's all.
Hey, man,
I'll hold the baby.
I promise
Are you
you,
scared
man.
of them?
I'm terrified. So my question is like, how do you know, like when a tarantula wants to be held or picked up? Like, how do you know?
So honestly, most tarantulas don't necessarily want to be handled. But if I'm going to mess with them, I'm going to go ahead and hold some of my friendlier ones. I always go ahead and do like a test with like some of like the feeding tweezers that we have. So I'll go ahead and kind of put it by and make sure and see like what their reaction is to it. A lot of the times you're going to tell right away if they're being defensive or not. So if they're not being defensive, most of the times, like with the gentler species, like my Arizona blonde's pretty nice, my curly hair is pretty nice, my polka is pretty nice. So it's just based on the temperament. So I always make sure to kind of test it out, make sure they're well fed. Never actually force a tarantula on. I mean, you can kind of persuade them with like a soft brush in the direction you want them to go to, but most of the times test it first to kind of see temperament, and then you can kind of get them to see if they'll come on your hand or not. But to be honest, most tarantulas don't want to be handled.
I have an Arizona blonde that does not like to be messed with at all.
Really? You know, I get those comments a lot, but like I've been really lucky with my Arizona blondes. I have a few, and they're some of like my nicer ones. Definitely Credence is my curly hair, and he's pretty good with being handled. My Polka is pretty good with being handled as well. But obviously the best ones to be handled are jumping spiders. I don't know if I'm biased, but they're a lot friendlier, definitely full of personality. They don't mind being handled. I like to say that they're people watchers and nosy. A lot of times they're watching what you're doing, but you can definitely tell there's some personality there because whenever they're being handled, like they're looking around, they're jumping around, and they're super cute.
So
Yeah, they.
one question real quick. My first was a pink toe tarantula.
Okay.
Now I've seen there's purple ones. Is there much difference in between?
So the colors are going to be different. Sizing is going to be a little bit different, and temperament's also going to be a little bit different.
Oh.
So pink tails are the ones you see at most, like they're the most common ones you'll see, especially like at Petco, PetSmart, places like that. But they're really cute. I mean, I have a few pink tails. I have one named Dolores. She's
So,
actually
Jamie.
logos based off of. So yeah, I have a ton of pink tails, but I love them. But I also have a purple.
Nice.
What about T. Sidonios? Do you have any of those?
I do have a T. Celedonia. It's super, super small, so it's a little juvenile. I actually got it, I'm going to say maybe 6 months back, and I got it at an auction show. They're beautiful, beautiful. Definitely need a little bit more expertise on caring for them, I feel like. And they're definitely a smaller spider. I think a lot of people get surprised to see how small the Celadonias actually are. And you don't see them most of the time. As beautiful as they are, you don't see them most of the time because they always build their little trap doors in their bark, and they're just kind of hanging out in there.
Well, see, that's my favorite tarantula. I'm trying to get one of those. So I'll hold it. But like I said, I don't know when they want to be picked up. So how do you know? That's why I asked.
Always definitely check to see the temperament. So like I always check with like either a soft brush or again like the feeding syringes that I use and see kind of their reaction. They're gonna let you know. They're definitely gonna either like do a defensive pose or they're gonna like kick some hairs at you.
Kick hairs.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what happened to what's his name?
Yep. She didn't kick hairs. He just was allergic to the hairs. As soon as she climbed on his hand, he just had a bad reaction to it.
Yeah, it's like a bee sting. Like either it's just like kind of like an itch, but if you're allergic, I mean, yeah, never a good thing. It's kind of like a bee sting. Like either you're allergic or you're not.
And how many podcasts have you been on? I've never seen you actually, and I've seen you have a lot of followers.
Thanks. Yeah. So I've been on different types of podcasts. This is actually going to be like my first reptile podcast.
Huh. So what other podcasts you've been doing?
So like I'm in the surgical field. So I used to manage a ton of dental surgical offices. So I've definitely done a lot of like more in like dental field, surgery field, like specialty fields. I also used to work for a not-for-profit, and we used to help people with substance abuse issues. So I've done like podcasts talking about that. Basically more on like my Monday through Friday job.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I used to be a cop, so I used to do. I started in the jail, then became a SWAT officer, and then left SWAT.
That's
Then got
awesome.
into reptiles because of my boys, and then my boys took off to Hawaii. Now I'm running it. Started a
That's awesome.
podcast for them, and now I do marketing for a restaurant for one of my sponsors. Actually, Don Romo's Mexican restaurant. I sponsor. I market for them. Their head of security, and also I manage the restaurant when they're not there during the day.
Okay, cool. It's funny how like so many of us wear so many different hats, right? Like on our day to day, and then like we take time for our passion and our hobby to do this, and like it turns into. I mean, the goal is right to make it our main source of like what we're doing. But it is funny how like when you take the time to talk to people from like the reptile world, how we all kind of have like different backgrounds, and like this one thing ties us all together, you know?
Yeah, reptiles, spiders, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like we just like to stay in the spider community, or nobody ever likes to interact with like reptile breeders, or they never get involved with other people. So that's why I bring everybody on the show so they can get to know you and be
Yeah.
like, hey, don't be afraid to talk to her. She's awesome. She's cool.
I definitely see that. I mean, you see it like where like it's like reptile people, arachnid people. I tend to like dabble in like all the worlds just because me personally, like I'm not just a breeder. Like how I got started was I used to obviously just have my pets, really love them. I have a ton of different animals at home. My reptile room's pretty huge, and obviously like I have 4-legged creatures too.
So besides spiders, what else do you have?
So I have a ton of geckos. As far as like geckos, I have toques. I have crested geckos. I have lychees. What else do I have? I have chihuahuas. I also have a tortoise. Her name is Sully. She's sulcata.
Oh, I have a
Um,
Sakata too.
yeah, she's like a little baby. I love her. I mean, she's definitely full of personality.
Yeah,
She's like what I like hand down to my children. It's like my family heirloom.
mine's. I got mine's from John, so I mean, I don't know if it's he or she yet, but he's still growing.
Awesome. Yeah, no, Tully's a girl. I have a ton of tree frogs. I actually just got a terrapin turtle. What else do I have? I have some vampire crabs, tons of tarantulas, obviously, jumping spiders. I have hog nose snakes. I have a carpet python. I mean,
Hmm.
a little bit of everything. I have 3 dogs, some Persian cats. I
So,
mean, it's
so
definitely a little.
what's your carpet python morph
She's a coastal.
coaster? And that's
Like
your
she's
favorite morph of carpets?
So actually, I really, really like the jungle. Just because obviously it's more vibrant. I actually just got a tattoo based off of Adeline Robinson. So I don't know if you guys have seen her artwork. So I actually got one
Oh,
of her art pieces on me for the jungle carpet python of the prints that she did. But I definitely like the jungle. But Maleficent is my coastal carpet python, and I love her. They're definitely beautiful creatures. A lot bigger than my hog noses, that's for sure.
hmm. I like that. I did see your tattoo. Your tattoo's awesome, by
Oh,
the
thank
way.
you.
So yeah, I saw your tattoo. It's amazing. All
Well,
the detail they put into that.
artist, so it was kind of easy for my tattoo artist to go in and base work off of her stuff. So if you guys ever have a chance, definitely check her out. She's a great artist. She's always at the big shows too, so you can see prints and art from her. She's cool.
That's awesome. I've seen her at the shows. I just never talked to her.
She's really, really nice. Like you'd be surprised. Like some of these people that are like such big names, they're so down to earth. Like I mean, there's a lot of different titans in our industry, right? And as you go to like different like coast to coast, you get to meet different titans in the industry. But she's definitely one of them that's like super sweet, super humble. I mean, like I know like a lot of the Python people probably know Bob Boo from Bob's Balls. There's different people, but they're all pretty like cool, laid back people. Once you get to know everyone, I mean, it's like a great industry, and like part of like the expos, for example, NARBC Tinley's coming up, right? It's one of the biggest shows in the country. You get to meet so many people, and I mean, it's so nice to get to know people from different parts of the community because, like, obviously, like there's the arachnid people, there's the reptile people, there's like the amphibian people, there's like all different kinds. So I feel like these shows definitely bring people together that you wouldn't necessarily get to meet like on a day-to-day basis, and you get to build like friendships.
Yeah, hell yeah, I agree with that. Like when I came into the hobby, for me, for instance, I used to have somebody I used to call mom. She was like my mom, and I would talk to her about everything. And she's like, "Well, what do you want to do in this hobby?" I was like, "I want to change it. I want to make it more positive. I want to spread love. I want to bring people together." And when I was doing that before when I started my podcast at first, I was like, I would have, let's say, a spider carpet python breeder. I would mix it so everybody can just talk to each other. And
Yeah.
everybody's like, "Oh, she's pretty cool," like this is cool. But then I stopped doing that, and I was going down a different route. Now I'm trying to come back, do that positive route that I was trying to do. So
I like hearing that because like I feel like in any part of the world you're in, right? Like there's like good and bad. Um, so I like hearing that, and I like hearing like that there's like the mingle of people because like at the end of the day we're all passionate about animals and we all care about animals, and that's why
so
we're all.
what so what is like one thing that the spiders have done for you? Like how did they impact you?
So for me, honestly, it's brought me a little bit more out of my shell. I've always been like an animal lover. I've always liked the weird things, like the oddities. I definitely try to find beauty in all of it. But it's definitely brought me more out of my shell. It's had me meet more people for sure. It's made me put myself out there and build a lot of friendships of people that I normally probably wouldn't have approached. Um, I do a ton of lives on my Instagram. Like, and I do a ton of enclosures. So I do a ton of like different, like either like the dollhouse enclosures or the bioactive enclosures. And within those lives, I get to interact with a lot of people. And a lot of the times it's like people, especially like I'm going to say from the arachnid community, we're a little bit shyer, I feel like. So within these lives, I feel like I get to interact with them, and I open a safe space for them to have different conversations with me while I'm having that live. Like, I mean, I'm obviously talking about husbandry. I'm talking about like the care for the spider, but then we'll have like a couple people on there and they'll be like, well, where'd you get your shirt from? You know, like, and it kind of gets the conversation going. And, you know, you'd be surprised that like I get so many messages like from, you know, different girls or different, you know, guys and my followers that will have just different conversations with me. And they'll be like, you know, thanks for bringing this up or just having a conversation with me. Like, I was a little intimidated to talk to you, but like, you're actually super nice, you know. And I'm always like that. Like, no matter who it is, hop in my inbox and like, let's have a conversation, you know, because again, I feel like the raccoon community, sometimes we're a little bit shyer. So I feel like it kind of opens a safe space. So it's definitely helped me come out of my shell, and then I feel like it's helped other people come out of their shells. And you know, like I definitely want to break that like whole like stereotype, like can't approach people, and you know, like I talk to the janitor the same way I'm talk to the CEO type thing. So
So yeah, a lot of people think me and John are intimidating. So I
yeah,
don't know.
I don't know. You've been really like great. Like any conversation we've had, you've been super friendly, super positive, and like I love that energy because like you bounce that energy off of each other.
Agree. I agree. And if you rub me the wrong way, I won't text back. Trust me. I'll just leave it at that.
I like that.
You can ask John. John, like John's known me for a long time.
I like that.
So
So prep.
like if you rub me the wrong way, I won't text back. I'll leave you on red and be like, I'm sorry. I'm at work or something, you know.
You tell me
Yeah.
But
that all the time though.
huh?
Tell me you're at work every time I try to write you. I'm at work, man.
Oh, but I am, but I am working though. But I do talk to you.
He's like, I actually need it that time.
But but yeah, I have a lot of. So I'm gonna go back to the tattoos because I also have a lot of ink. I love tattoos. I even got my logo on me. So right here is my logo, and then I got on my chest a bigger piece of my logo. So
Cool. I'm
I'm
covered.
yeah, I'm not finished. I'm not finished. So but yeah. So how do you deal with like I guess people coming at you like about your husbandry, like or that's wrong? Because let me tell you what, I've been in the spider like on TikTok. The spider community on TikTok is pretty rough.
It is. It is. I mean, like, even sometimes when we're like out, right? Like, we have debates. And I think any debate is like, as long as it's a healthy one, right? Like, it's great because there might be something that you don't know that I can teach you, something you can teach me. Like, maybe I am doing something the wrong way. I think we can take that as instead of it being like nasty criticism, like, hey, like there's a better way that you might be able to do this. Why don't you try this out? Or like educate each other, you know, like use that as a learning moment instead of like talking down to somebody. Like there's no reason for that, you know. I think a lot of times like we get stuck in stuff and we're like, oh, like what is this person doing? All that. So I mean, I just take it like with a grain of salt and I'm like, okay, like maybe there's something that I need to learn a little bit better. There's different people that have different backgrounds, you know, like there's actually some people that used to work at like zoos and things like that and work on like these
Yeah,
breeding projects, things like that. Like I think as long as you don't have like that superior attitude, like and super negative, just talking down, like I mean, why not openly discuss like how we can do things better? I feel like just in general humanity, right? We're always improving. So that's going to be part of the spider world and any reptile world. Like we're going to keep learning things about these animals and their care and getting better and better every time. And like, how can we do that if we don't communicate? It's just about the way that it's being communicated and handled.
agreed, agreed. And like I said, I've seen the spider community on TikTok, and they're like, you can't be friends with that person. Don't be friends with that person. Like, what is your take on that? So if somebody's fighting, and they're your friend, right? What's your take on that?
I mean, I get it. Trust me, especially in the jumping spider world. Ooh, so like, I
I'm-
mean, it gets rough. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's a great community, but like, yeah, I mean, there definitely is like some, you know, like you get some like feedback, right? Um, how I deal with like people that like have me in the middle, honestly, like I'm just like, cool, like y'all hash that out. Like, it has nothing to do with me. It's not going to change my, like, what I think about someone else. Like, and as far as like, a lot of times, like, if let's say you want to be a medium between the two people, it's like, okay, like, this is what she's saying, this is what you're saying. Like, just take a moment to actually, like, listen to what the other's saying and see each other's points of views, you know? Like, just take a step back and actually look at the bigger picture. Because a lot of times in the heat of the moment, you're just, like, going back and forth. You're responding to respond. You're not responding to listen. So, I mean, either neutral party or I'm just like, look, like, I can understand what she's saying. Like, or look, I can understand what he's saying. Like, can we all agree to disagree maybe at this point, or just let's figure it out? Like, stop making the person the problem, make the problem the problem. Let's find a solution, like, at the end of the day. Like,
So
or not
like
just
for
don't mess with each other.
exactly. So like for me, like what I'm trying to promote is like I love all you guys. If you have beef with somebody, like that's between you two. I always tell John that's between them.
Yeah.
Like don't drag me into it. So that's why I made that if you didn't see that reel I made, it says don't drag me into your yeah. I made that because one of your the spider people uh try to drag me into their drama and be like, so these are the people you talk to, like, try to make me choose a side. And I don't
Well,
choose sides. I'm friends with everybody. I'm cool with everybody. I want to get to know everybody. Let me, be the judge of that. Like,
Character. Yeah.
yeah, instead of you telling me don't talk to them because they're like that. Well, they may be like that to you. They're not like that to me.
Yeah, it's not like my perception of the person. I mean, I'm telling you, I definitely get it. I've definitely had like messages where they're like, "Oh, you talk to this person. Oh, you talk to this person." I'm like, "Yeah, like if you got an issue, I mean, like directly go to that person because if you really have that big of an issue, you should be able to confront that person. If you can't confront that person, you really don't have that big of an issue. Like end of the day."
I always hear there's two
Damn.
sides to every story: their side, my side, and the truth.
Yep.
So,
Eh. I'm a eh. And I mean, if I talk to you, I mean, you're cool with me already. So,
I love that. Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
I try to get along with everybody. I'm like a social butterfly. Like, I feel like now at least more. And I mean, like I said, like I suppose like I love when people come and interact at my table, even if you're not coming to buy something at my table. I don't care. Just come say hi, say what's up. Like, you got some
take a
questions?
picture, right?
Yeah, like let's have fun. You know, like I said, I'm actually really looking forward to like NARBC Tinley. Like we're setting up like a whole new like photo op reptile lounge area for everybody.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm excited. Like I'm ready to like mingle and talk to everybody. Like
Are
I
you
mean,
are you going to Dallas or no?
I'm definitely doing Dallas too. I already booked my table.
We're going.
Really? So then we'll get to hang out.
Yeah, we're going. I know we're going, right, John? Are you going?
I don't know what it is, but I'll be there.
It's in
It
April.
is. Yes, April. There you go.
There you
Hmm.
go. We'll get together on dates. I'll be there.
Yeah, we get to hang out, man. Texas is always a good time. I mean, honestly, any RBC show is a good time. Like I have a
And,
blast.
and I'm like, in Dallas, they got barbecue, so you already
Y'all
know.
have to the spots then.
Yeah.
Find me after the show to tell you about barbecue after the show.
Cool.
Why? Is it bad?
No, 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 no. It's a
Oh,
good
I
time.
was gonna say, is it bad? You're gonna be like, don't eat that. I'm like, oh man,
Too late. No, plan.
right? I already ate it. So, what is one thing you could teach someone who's afraid of spiders? Like, what is one thing you could teach them?
I think honestly, education's like a big thing, right? A lot of these people that are like, ew, like, oh, like I could never. We're not shown a lot of these animals when we're a lot smaller, right? Like, I mean, I'm a Latina, right? I'm gonna be honest. Like, my mom's the first one to whip out the chancla and like,
Oh,
like
really? I didn't think you were Latina at all.
I am Latina. I'm
I
like,
was like, I didn't think you were Latina at all. Sorry.
really? Oh my God, that's funny. Oh yeah. So my mom's Guatemalan, my dad's Mexican. So like I said, especially coming from a minority community, like I said, my mom's first one to whip out that chancla. Like you're not educated necessarily in showing these animals the same way that you're shown cats, dogs. It's not like you're typical. I feel like now it's starting to become a little bit more typical, right? Where you see all of these kids at the expos being educated. So I just feel like education's a big deal, right? Kids are the future of what we're doing. They're gonna definitely keep this legacy going and growing. I mean, definitely just about teaching them. I've thought about like doing like different, like I have friends that are a bunch of teachers and like principals and things like that, like maybe reaching out and doing like a program within the schools. Like, I mean, honestly, the only teacher I ever had that had like any tarantulas or weird animals was a science teacher and never really took out the spiders or educated it. They just kind of had it. So I just feel like it's more of like education, showing them like, hey, these animals aren't as creepy as you think. They aren't as harmful as you think. Like a lot of people think that if a spider bites you, you're going to die right away, or like, you know, different things like that. Like, so I definitely think education and showing them the beauty of the animals. Like with jumping spiders, right? Like nobody really knew about them for a while. Then they started blowing up all over the internet with like, these super cute pictures of them, their videos. They came out with like Lucas on Netflix, you know. So like that gets kids going into seeing how beautiful these spiders really are, you know. Every piece, yeah, I don't know, just like putting it all together and educating. So I mean, I think that's part of the cuteness. I mean, even taking the pictures, like I'm always like, wow, like that spider's super blue. Like, you know, this is an interesting looking animal. And it really starts by just teaching them. Like I have a niece and nephew. My sister ain't with it with with the spiders. She's like, like she messing with them. But like my niece and nephew will actually come here and like help me make enclosures. They'll help me feed the spiders. And they didn't start that way. At first they were kind of like creeped out and scared. But like I've taken the time to be like, look, like let me show you how to handle them properly. Let me show you what they look like in their homes. It's the same thing with like my snakes and them handling them. Like I educate them like, look, this is the proper way to handle them. This is how you can make sure that it's safe to, you know, these are the animals that I would absolutely not let you handle. So I mean, it's definitely more about getting them comfortable. And honestly, like I get a lot of kids at my booth, like a ton of them. And I have one little girl in specific always that like reaches out to me and sends me updates on her spider. She actually named her spider after me.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
That's
stuff
awesome.
all the time, and it was her first jumping spider, and I met her in St. Louis, and I've been in touch with her ever since, you know. And that's kind of how it starts. Even if we can just change that one person's mind, imagine how many spiders or different type of reptiles we can save, you know, because there's not really that about that chancla.
Hey, John, can you run this real quick? They're calling me from work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be right back. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
It's cool. The hustle never stops.
So I do a lot of education shows for schools, assisted living. We work with a lot of special need kids.
Okay.
And what's amazing when you say assisted living, you think, oh, these elderly people will be terrified. And I always say, I don't know if it's because they're lacking in attention from people or they're really interested, but they're like gone whole. I mean, I pull out my berms, my retics, samboas, and they're all right there. My tarantulas, they're ready to hold. And that's a great feeling when you work with somebody, and you always get that one person. You get two people on every show. You get one kid that never wants to leave your booth. It makes it really hard on you because they want all the attention. And you get the one who says, I'm never going to hold anything. And you get those two to come together and I do something together. It's always amazing. So yeah, educational shows they're dear to our heart. That's how I started. That's what paid me to have my own store for a couple of years. I decided no more of that. I didn't like it no more. And I stuck just back with shows. Now I get to travel different states and do shows now. So
It's awesome, like traveling. I mean, it is the beauty of it. And like honestly, like seeing like the kids and everything, like with their faces and like super happy about like even getting like their first or maybe getting their like 10th reptile or spider. I mean, it is really interesting. And I definitely think like part of the beauty with the expos, right, which is like my favorite thing. Like even if I'm not vending a show, I'll make it out to a show. Like I've flown out for different shows. I like the interaction and seeing literally so many different people from all over, like, right? Like all different races, all different backgrounds, like everything, like just come together into this hobby. And it's like, wow, it's kind of beautiful, you know, like it sounds cheesy and corny, right? But it is beautiful because you really like, it's a person you might never have talked to otherwise. And you're just like,
exactly.
wow, literally bonding over animals, you know? And it kind of just goes to show like all it takes is really to get to know people and you see how many similarities we all have, you know? But
I always look at it. You never know who you're going to inspire, right? You don't know if it's going to be the next guy, the next kid that finds a new species that we don't know about yet, or the next big ball breeder or whatever breeder. And you got to have patience. It's one thing that I struggled with in the beginning when I first started, you know, and now I have more patience than anything. And then, you know, it don't matter if I get hired for a 10-minute little spot or if it's a 2 hour, it all goes by the same amount of time to me because I'm having so much fun. and you get shock value to people, and like I was saying earlier, just to be able to inspire, show them there's more out there than normal jobs that they could eventually fall in love with.
Yeah, no, it's true. And you want to follow your passion. I mean, going back and piggybacking off of what you said, like that you were working with like kids with special needs. NARBC Schaumburg, totally remembered this right now. I had a parent come. They were there. They were coming to see snake discovery. And the line was kind of by my booth. And she was like, oh, like we've kind of been watching a little bit of Lucas. Like she kind of wanted to check out some spiders. And I'm like, cool. Like, so the mom pulled me to the side and she's like, my daughter's autistic. I'm like, okay. She's like, so she's a little bit particular about touch, sometimes about conversation, things like that. Um, so she kind of gave me like a heads up, and I'm like, okay, let me just spend some time with her. She hung out at my booth probably like 2 hours. We were like bonding, talking. And at the end, I gifted her a spider and I gifted her an enclosure. And like, she gave me the biggest hug. Her mom like starts bawling. Like, I'm like Kim K, ugly crying, like Kardashian. Like, I was like, whoa, like, what did I, like, I was kind of like, oh, did I do something? Like, super thrown off. And she's like, she never lets anyone hug her. She's like, she won't even let me hug her. Like, and it was really a touchy moment. Like, her mom, like, sat and, like, took pictures of us. Like, I still have her number too. And, like, on one of my videos and my reels, like, you'll see her, and she's, like, hugging me. And, like, I mean, it's definitely interesting to see, like, I don't know, like, you never really know what people are going through. And, like,
Exactly.
one smile, a little bit of time, what it can do.
So I guess a question, which is hard for me because I hear it a lot, because I have everything from, I've had tokay geckos, I have tegus, we have crested geckos, we have tarantulas, berms, retics, balls. We have a little bit of everything. We have goats, chickens. We have all that, right? And the one thing you hear, at least for me, you hear more from a standard animal is only a good snake is a dead snake, right? So
Yeah.
I imagine you hear something along those lines with spiders. Do you get in your feelings when you first hear that, or do you kind of take it back and go, well, let me show you some information about it? Like me, it kind of gets under my skin for about 2 seconds,
Yes.
and I try to educate, but I've had people threaten to shoot my animals and during a show, and it took everything I had not to explode like I wanted to. And so, have you been confronted with something like that, or have you? How would you handle it? I guess is my question.
So you definitely get it, especially like at shows, right? Like we interact with so many people, so many different people come, and like there's people that like will mess with spiders, there's people that won't. I definitely hear, like, oh, I could never, touch that spider. Oh, like just kill it. Oh, so like, I mean, obviously, like it takes you aback for a second because you're like, whoa, like we're like at a whole reptile expo, like what? Like.
So what was the question?
So the question was, like me and you, we hear only a good snake is a dead snake, right? And I was asking how she handles that, because I've been in my store. I had a spider side and I had a reptile side. I had different sides, and like you're saying, you're at an expo, you're going to see this stuff. Well, I have people that says reptile room, and they would walk in there and then freak out because it's a reptile room. And I was basically asking, how does she handle that situation?
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely hear it, but you definitely like reel it back in, and you're like, well, like let me show you these like
Sorry.
pictures. It's super cute. Like, look how sweet they are. Like, look at how handleable they are. Like, it's just about showing them those pictures and videos and being like, look, you want to handle it? No, if you don't, like, let me show you either in the enclosure or let me take it out and I handle it. Kind of see. Everyone has their things, right? Like, not everyone's gonna like everything. Everyone. So, I mean, reel it in for a second and kind of just show them. At the end of the day, fine or you don't. Cool. It is what it is. Like, I love my animals, and like,
Right.
So I was gonna ask, who do you look up to in the industry / hobby, like being a spider person or a reptile person?
oof, there's so many. I could name so many people, honestly. I mean, right off the bat, I'm definitely gonna first like Brian Potter, right? NARBC, Chicago Reptile House. He's super been like helpful with me, like with any question I've had. He's given me opportunities to work at his store. and do really what I'm passionate about. Let's see who else in the industry. Like Adeline, she started at a shop and she would do her paintings there, and then that's kind of how she blew up, you know. So that's nice. Who else? Oh, there's so many people. Let's see who else. I mean, come on, we all know Bob Vu. Bob came here with his parents. Cardi started humble, was doing insurance stuff, and then eventually like switched over to his huge investment into like pythons, right? And now he is where he is and runs a successful business, and this is his full time. I'm trying to think of like more people that I can bring up. I have so many people in the industry that like I talk to and that I'm just like, wow, it's a big inspiration. Uh, I'm really like trying to think of names, like, you know, Tarantula Cat. I really like Tarantula Cat. She's one of like the big names in the arachnid community. So she not only is she a big name in the arachnid community, right? But she's also a girl, which I think it's really important to have that women representation, because I don't necessarily feel like there's a lot of representation for us, which is crazy because there's so many girls that are into reptiles, that are like amphibians, that are into arachnids, like everything. Like there really is so many girls within our community, but I don't feel like there's a lot of representation. So honestly, like she's a big representation. She's like on a big platform for us. And I'm gonna be honest, she is so kind. She is so funny. When I met her, I was definitely a little bit shy and fangirling and like intimidated because I was like, I don't know if she's gonna be like, you know, when you look up to someone, you're like, oh, I wonder if they're gonna be like super stuck up or if they're gonna be like cool, laid back to earth, super like laid back to earth. She was definitely everything I thought she was gonna be when I met her. And I mean,
That's always nice.
yeah, and like she's definitely like shouted me out a bunch of times. And I think it's cool because it's like not only are you just like on this platform, you're this big person, and you just don't talk to your followers. She actually interacts with her followers, and like she takes women like us under her wing, you know, and kind of builds us up instead of like tearing us down and acting like we're competition. So I definitely look up to her. For a while, you know, like I used to help out sometimes. I have a ton of enclosures from Gecko Junkie. They're a cool big. They started small and then they blew up. Who else? I'm trying to think. Rolly Boys is cool. They're isopods. They have a pretty big following. Take phenomenal isopod pictures. I don't think there's that much shine on the isopod community, and it's. I mean, I love me isopod. That I love.
Which is crazy. People go, or you know, we're competition. Yeah, we are competing a little bit against each other, but at the same time, how many people really are selling to each other anyway? Because there's not a million people that are wanting a spider or a snake compared to a dog or a cat. So we're competing, but at the same time,
I think there's room for all of us, right? Like I definitely get like we're all there, like we're there to make money, right? But we're also there to educate, have a good time. And I feel like everyone has different things to bring to the table. Like I'm not gonna compete with the next one. I'm gonna go and support her and be like, hey, like what cute spider stuff do you have that I can buy for you? Like I want to meet them because they're gonna look completely different from my team. You know, like I don't see like jumping spider. I'll go, you know, and chop it up with. Like we talk and hang out, and how can we do this better? How can we collab in a different way? And I do a ton of collaborations with different people, like different even local artists in my area. Like I'll have some, like there's a girl that I do like a collab with that does like ceramic stuff. I do a ton of Beetlejuice enclosures. She does some of my sandworms for me, and like I'll literally shout her out and be like, hey, like this is who I use to make my sandworms for my enclosures, and we get to like collab and vibe off of each other, you know, and network each other off of that. So, I mean, I think it's beautiful that we get to like collab and do different things, and I don't think we should necessarily look at each other as competition, because like just because I'm shining don't mean you can't shine. Like everyone brings different things to the table, you know? Like some people will literally come just to me because of that comfortability they built with me, you know? It doesn't necessarily mean they can't get a jumping spider from like 2 booths over. It just means that they had a connection with me. And it's like the same thing with any other vendor. Like everyone's going to bring different things to the table, and that's what people are going to go off of, right? Like, I mean, you got to kind of find like your groove and go from there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We should be growing everything and not trying to bring everybody down.
Yeah, I mean, like the only way this industry is going to grow as a whole, right? And like right now, like obviously we all know it's kind of slowing down, and we're kind of all taking a little bit of a hit, is by like boosting each other up, talking each other's shows up. Like, you know, I'm the first one that will post someone's stuff on my story, like on my feed. Like, I'll shout out multiple business. You'll see my feed, and it's like me shouting out multiple businesses doing giveaways. Anytime I'm doing a live, I'm talking about like whatever it is I'm using. Like, if it's the enclosure, like, you know, I use Tarantula Cribs. Mo's the owner of Tarantula Cribs. He's awesome. He's worked hand in hand with me. Great. I am actually an affiliate for Martial Arachnids. Ryan and Jessica are the owners of Martial Arachnids. Honestly, like Jessica, one of those spider girls that's behind the scenes, and you don't necessarily see her, but like that girl knows anything spider you throw at her, especially like different, even like animals, you throw it at her, she's gonna be able to educate you from the top down, right? Like, it's beautiful that she. So I'm an affiliate for them. I actually know, like I said, the owners, great people. Um, who else? I mean, there's a ton of different enclosures. Like my reptile enclosures again come from Gecko Junkie with Tristan Kaler. So like if I use an enclosure and I do a live setup for that, like I'll say like, this is where my enclosure is from. Find them on Instagram. They have a website you can order. If I get an animal from a show, I make sure to take down the business name and information and shout them out. You know, like even if I feel like someone has cool like husbandry or something they're doing, like cool animals. Like right now, I've been like really into like watching all the Black Dragon videos and like the monitors, bigger and better reptiles. Like, you know, I've been posting them on my story. Like, I don't know, I'm the first one to like throw someone's name out there and be like, this person is doing a great job. This person's doing cool, you know, like things, or this person's just a great person. I mean, I just did that the other day. I posted a picture of me with Chris Pilgrim and Bob Vu from Bob's Balls, you know, like because they're the first ones to help a girl out. Like I work my booth alone all the time. And they'll be the first ones to be like, yo, you hungry? Like, let me like get you some food because I know you're here alone, you know? And like, it's community. Like you're building that community. Like, which is important. We got to build each other up. Like, how are we going to grow? Keep knocking us down. We already have like outside people trying to knock us down, trying to like limit what we can have at our home, things like that, you know? So just building each
And
other up.
I agree with that. I literally agree with that. That's exactly what I do. I try to lift people up. I literally have a Discord of just lifting each other up, putting positive stuff in there. Which I wanted to shout out my T captains in my Discord, by the way, real quick. I want to shout out, hey Anthony, what's up, brother? So Anthony, we have a podcast tomorrow with Anthony. It's Perry's Exotics, right? So we have him tomorrow. And it's probably gonna be like this tomorrow too, brother. They have me working doubles all week, so
Hey, it never
sucks.
stops, man. It never stops.
Yeah. So that's why I wanted to apologize to Jessica because I I was supposed to have the day off, and then they're calling me to go to work, so I'm driving now to work so I can get there.
That's
Um, but
though. Grind don't
but
stop.
it doesn't. It doesn't. It literally doesn't. So I do agree with you on when you're saying that we need to lift each other up because that's exactly what I preach, exactly what I live by. It's all I want to do is lift people up because if we can't lift each other up, then why are we in this hobby together? Why are we
It,
always gonna keep
it
putting somebody
shows.
down?
It shows. Like you'll see the people that are like the negative Nancy's, and they're like, oh, you know, like I mean, I get it too. Like I think people talk about pretty privilege a lot. Talk about the downside that comes with pretty privilege, especially like for girls, right? You get like the people that will come sometimes to your booth try to educate you on the animal that you're breeding. I'm like, okay. Like don't manscape me right now. And then you'll get like sometimes like the girls that are like I have a lot of girls that are like super supportive, super kind, super like like vibe and stuff. Like Caitlin Wilcox, that's my girl. Like I mean, I know you guys have seen her. She's like
I
Muslim
had her
mom.
on the podcast.
Yeah, Muslim
I love
mommy.
Caitlin. I actually call her Catalina. And she gets mad.
So funny. Yeah, you know, she does snakes and stuff. Like, she's definitely someone that like has been super kind to me, like, and very welcoming. And most girls are, but like with pretty privilege also comes like, again, like besides the manscaping, sometimes you'll get girls that like just don't want to like you for not liking you, and I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna be happy, smile at you, and kill you with kindness because like there's no reason for that, you know. So there's definitely different things that you get being a woman in the industry.
But so okay, so what I want to know now is what motivated your passion into like spiders instead of snakes? Like what led you to spiders? I still don't understand.
Yeah, so I've always had like four-legged creatures, always, but I've always been super into bugs, like super into bugs, super into spiders. I had been like studying spiders and watching like videos on them on YouTube all the time. I was on TikTok, Instagram, and I really, really, really wanted one. And until I finally got into my place, I had, you know, been trying to kind of prep for it and kind of work myself up to like being like, okay, like I want a tarantula. And it started with a tarantula, right? Which the tarantula that it started with is Dolores. That's why my logo was actually a pink toe tarantula. Funny because I do jumping spiders, but it's what got me into this, and you know I'm gonna honor that. Um, but my ex fiance, or my fiance at the time, she ended up gifting my first tarantula and and Dolores. And so I kind of just got into there, and then once you start, it's like chips, right? You can't just have one. Oh, I want this species now. I want this species now. And then I
Yeah.
ended up getting into jumping spiders, right? So I kept jumping spiders. I ended up getting one that was pregnant and laid fertile eggs for me. So I was like, crap, like, what do I do now? So I started doing my research, started getting into the Facebook groups, asking questions, and I started raising the babies up. And then when I started going to these expos and like showing people like the different enclosures I was making for them, our friend that's a really good friend now, Ken from S&J Terrariums, I mean, he makes awesome terrariums, and he was like, why don't you like sell this stuff? Like, why don't you come vend? Like, and he kind of was like, your stuff is really good. Like, you're very well educated on your jumping spiders. Like, your enclosures are like bomb.com. Like, you got taste, bro. Like, do it. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And he's like, you know what? How about you come on down, work a show with me? Like, we'll split the table and kind of see how you go from there. I'm like, all right, cool. I did that. And from there, it just like kicked it off. Like, and I mean, like, hands down, like, as much as I love all my animals, my spiders are my happy place. When I'm making enclosures for them, that's like my therapy time. When I'm like sitting there interacting and feeding and misting them, that's like my happy time. And like getting to know about so many different ones. And again, like all about finding that beauty in the oddity, you know, like because it's like it's hard to like it's not hard to look at a frog and be like, oh, this frog is so cute. Like, you know, like they got like the cute big ol' eyes or like soft. Like, whereas to a spider, I feel like it takes a little bit more for people to like want to love on them. But yeah, like for me, it's always been kind of like love at first sight. And yeah, I mean, like my friend Ken from Messenger Rooms is kind of what pushed me into like do it. Like, okay, it kicked off from there, and like it's gone really well, and honestly it's gone well because of the support I've received from the community. Like I'm big on that. Like I'm big on networking, I'm big on community, like I'm big on like helping each other out. Like it's really what has helped grow my business. Like if it wasn't for like my following and like everybody that I know within the industry, and like even like the titans that have taken me under their wing, and they're like, yeah, come on girl, like we got you.
That's awesome. I want to
Yeah.
say that's awesome. So I'm gonna ask two more questions because I was gonna try to keep it 45 minutes, and we're already past that. Um, because I do want to bring you back. Like I want to bring everybody back for a part two because I want to keep them interested. You know what I'm saying?
Awesome.
So, but I do have. What is your take on USR?
I like USARC. So I actually volunteer for USARC. So when I'm not vending at a show, I'll go ahead and volunteer and go and reach out to the vendors, see like if they're donating any animals or any like cool like goods and stuff. I'm actually one of the Vanna girls for the auctions as well. So I try to do my part with it, but I think it's very important. Like once you meet people too, they're very laid back. Like, 'cause you get to see the professional side of them, right? But you also get to know them as humans and how much time they genuinely spend fighting for our rights. Like, I think people don't realize like what's going on behind the scenes legally, right? And then like even me, sometimes like I'm considering moving to a different state and they're like, you can't keep this animal in that state. I'm like, what? Like, like you'd be so surprised. So US ARC fights for rights, right? And not even just that, like I feel like they educate us and they spend time within the community. Like if I don't know if you guys have ever gone to any of the US ARC auctions, but a lot of the auctions, like it's obviously to help US ARC, but like let's say someone in the community had something happen, like some type of like emergency or like I don't know who it was, but like their shop burned down. And within that US ARC, they did a different auction and those proceeds went to that community member from our community. So like they not only help us with our rights, educating us and like all that money going to it, right? Because the vendors do our part to help US ARC as well because we donate. But I mean, like they also help our community and they get to know us. Like, I mean, Phil's great from US ARC. Honestly, Vanessa, I don't know if you guys have met Vanessa Constanza from US ARC. That's my girl. Like, she's so
She's been on the pod too.
she's so involved. She's passionate. Like, and I mean, she's a woman in the industry, right? And she's a titan. Like, real.
I love Vanessa. She's awesome.
She's so awesome. Like I love Vanessa. Like, and she's like the first one to be like, "Hey, how are you doing? Like, what can I do to help?" Like, I love that energy. I feed off of that energy. It's like, come on, like be a girl's girl. Like, and like all of us, like again, community. Like, so I mean, US ARC at the end of the day fights for our rights and they preach community and they actually do practice that. Like, you'll see us all like chopping it up at the auction. Like, it's a good time, and they do generally like promote our businesses and stuff like that. And I mean, I definitely feel supported by US ARC and like I talk to Vanessa all the time. And like that's why I try to do my part. If I'm vending a show and I can't go and help during the show hours, I'll be like a Vanna girl after and like, show the animals during the auction. So I like give my time for it. And I always make sure I like turn in a donation as well. Like whether it's a jumping spider, an enclosure, or whatever it is.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. And you have a question, John?
No, I didn't say no.
Oh, I thought you had a question. Okay, so I'm gonna ask this next question. So, if you could go back in time and tell your 18-year-old self, what would you tell yourself?
I would tell myself to follow my dreams a lot more and not be as shy about what it is I like. I think that, especially being a Latina, right? It's embedded in us. Like, you got to go to school, you got to have a good job. Like, like, come on. Like, most minorities, you definitely get that. Like, you got to be a doctor, you got to be a lawyer, you got to do this, you got to do that in order to be successful. I definitely would go back and tell my 18-year-old self, like, do what makes you happy because unfortunately I fell into that like gotta get a good job corporate like mindset and I went into the corporate world and I'm very successful at it. I was very successful at it, very well known in the industry and healthcare and things like that, but it wasn't necessarily what I was passionate. I mean, patient healthcare was very important and that's probably why I did so good, but I mean, realistically, like my love has always been with animals, so I definitely would go back and be just follow your heart and like do it. Like you can make like money from this, and even if not, like I mean, as long as for me, like as long as I'm getting by, like and I have my little like rancho and like my animals and my little like petting zoo, like I'm good, like So I definitely go back and say like follow more of your dreams, and who knows like where I could have taken it if I had started a lot younger, and where I am now as opposed to just starting out a couple years ago and right now. And I'm happy where I am right now. Like, like I'm grateful for where I am right now. I'm appreciative. But, like had I started a lot earlier, who knows? I'm one of those like famous YouTubers.
You're awesome, though. So, I mean, that's why I want to bring y'all on, get y'all out there, get y'all known, get people to see how you are. You know, of course, I'm gonna bring back a all girls podcast. So when I do that, they're gonna be different girls from like she may be an all snake breeder or gecko breeder, and we're just gonna mix y'all and just sit down and talk reptiles.
I love that.
Or spiders.
And honestly, shout out to you because I think the fact that you're acknowledging that says a lot, especially coming from like men in the industry, right? Like you guys set the tone. You guys set how we're treated, how we're received. So like kudos to you honestly that you're accepting, you're acknowledging, you want to put it up. Like,
I mean, I want to know everybody. I want everybody to like I said, get to know each other, spread positivity, love each other, lift each other up. I want to do all of that. So I'm going to continue to do, what I said to do, or what I said I was going to do. So, but on that, do you have anything else to say, John, before we go?
No, nice to meet you. Learned a lot. I appreciate it.
oh no, thanks for having me, guys. Like, honestly, I was definitely looking forward to it all week, and like I was super excited. I was talking about it at the shop, and I was like, I gotta go early today. Like,
You're like, I got a podcast to do. I'm gonna be YouTube famous.
So I honestly really appreciate you like even reaching out and like and having me on your podcast and like talking to me, and like you guys are great vibes, and I mean thanks for what you're doing for the community. I think it's really important that you guys have this platform and you're spreading positivity.
I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that a lot. It means a lot. Because definitely I used to have a podcast before this one. It was called Sexin' and Flexin' Reptile Podcast. And I had to rebrand. So I rebranded and I became Untamed and Unhinged Reptile Podcast. And me starting over, it was hard for me to start over because I actually wanted to give up, quit. But a lot of people were reaching out, like they were like, we love you, Chris. Like, you need to start doing the podcast again. You need to get back out there. You lift people up, so that's why I came back.
I'm glad you came back, and honestly, like it's a good podcast because I've been watching the episodes, right? And like even like this conversation, I feel like a lot of times you're just like talking about husbandry, and I'm just like, I think you kind of like doze off. So this has been fun. Like I think it definitely gonna keep people interested in going. And do you mind if I ask? Are you Latino?
Yes.
Okay. See, hey, to la raza.
I don't know about John though. No,
like platform. It really is because I mean, like, come on, like it's great to see like different people from different races doing this stuff because it's like you can inspire someone that's younger that looks just like you, like it's like, oh, like they look like me, I can do this too, It's
well, I appreciate you saying I'm young. I'm old actually. I'm 38.
I'm 33. What are you trying to say?
I'm saying I'm old. I feel old, but I feel like I'm 21 sometimes.
Right, we're in our prime.
So I feel like I'm 21 until I stand up. Then that 38 kicks in real quick.
Right. So your knees buckle. You're like, ah. But before we go, what is one positive message you can leave, or would you say to everybody out watching?
Lift each other up, man. Be that community. Be that person that like you want someone to be for you because I will say it and say until like I'm blue in the face. You never know what someone is going through behind closed doors. Like, I mean, ever. And all kinds. One shout out, like it could literally change someone's whole day, mood, world. Like you'd be surprised how like that one small thing can literally save a person. And like within this community, I mean, it gets rough sometimes. And like even with every day-to-day life, right? Like we're tired, we're working our normal jobs, then we're coming home taking care of our reptiles, our families, things like that. Like you can go to a dark place fast, right? So definitely like be that community member, be that person that like you have needed in some of your worst times, and like smile and just be kind. Honestly, like that's the beauty of all of this. Like it's why we all got into this. Like we love animals and we love the interaction with people. Like be a community member, like a real one.
Oh yeah, I agree. I'm sorry, I muted because when you're talking, it breaks up. So do you got anything else to say, John?
No, I just enjoyed being here. I had fun. I love learning more about spiders and tarantulas, so that's awesome.
I mean, Dallas, we got a date, guys. Like we're gonna hang out. I'm gonna have you guys hold all different types of spiders. I'm gonna bring different spiders just for you guys to hold. We can get you to hold a tarantula.
Yep, Chris.
That's our goal.
I love it.
All right. Yeah, for sure. I'll do it. I'll be there, but but thank you, Jessica. I appreciate you for coming on. If you can stay backstage, we'll come back there at the end of the show.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome.
Other than that, y'all guys, thank you for watching. We love you guys. Lift each other up. Spread positivity, and we'll see you on the next one. Hold on, let me go.
He's like, hold on, I'm driving in.
Sorry. I don't know what happened.